understanding that we are in a construct, a creation, and experiencing that for myself, it always leads me back to the Gematria. All of my out-of-body experiences, dreams, and meditations, visions, always have me look back at the code. And at first, I had no idea why. I had some kind of inkling that, okay, there's scripts, there's a code to this reality. You know, it seems to be this alphanumeric process, but why? And so with the understanding of a construct, I was then able to put what I was seeing, everything started to mesh because things started to become clear about the code itself and how the timelines, the scripts, the events, they're about healing. It's about becoming whole.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Awaken to Joy. I'm Shem.
I am Omondi.
And welcome. Today, we are having a wonderful conversation with a community member and a wonderful creator. So I'm going to let him introduce himself. It's Jace. So, hiya. Would you like to say hi to everyone?
Jace. First of all, thank you guys for having me. We were talking earlier and just following your guys' journey and the work that you have been doing, it was a big inspiration to me as well to start making videos because, you know, I've been on a very clear spiritual journey these last few years, but I put out some videos, but I took it seriously, but I wasn't fully committed. And then I started seeing channels like yours and others where you guys were, no matter what, you're going to get this stuff out. And so the time we're in and knowing that, I was like, all right, I need to focus up, push past whatever doubt and just share because we're all in this together, you know? So yeah, my name is Jace Belshe. And my journey started very, very different, as does everybody, but mine was very interesting how the awakening process started. It happened with me finding this alphanumeric practice called Gematria. And I saw that this practice of assigning letters to numbers through all languages, because most languages actually have a numerical value to their letters, I saw that they were scripts. It was a blueprint of creation. And that depending on the language, depending on what they would say the time frame of that language was created, had a different, we could say, cipher to them, a different algorithm, a different pattern of numbers and letters together. But I saw that when looking at this Gematria, they all had a commonality between them, which was, of course, the creation story, but also that everything is scripted. And that really hit me hard in terms of being a catalyst to wanting to find truth. What's the truth? Because when you go down that road of everything is scripted and everything is very measured, what is the truth within that? So that was a spark within me to look further into this. Now, finding that most of the time, all of the content on Gematria was mainly political and financial market related, right? Everybody, including myself, wanted to see if we could predict certain outcomes, right? that this will happen this day, and how do we use this to our advantage, right? And all that is just it's a lack of a perspective. I had a lack of perspective and perception of what this truly was. And I knew that it was a lot more than trying to make some money, trying to see when, this would happen or that would happen. It was very fun and I learned a lot, but I knew ultimately it needed to go deeper. And I've shared this on my my channel, but I really started to look at lucid dreaming. And I started to wanting to see what I could find out and taking control of dreams. Because I didn't really, my focus and awareness was not on astral projections or an out-of-body experience. I actually only had a few of those as a child. But this one day I went to try to induce a lucid dream. And I basically shut the body down into sleep paralysis. Mm-hmm. And that was when in sleep paralysis, I saw a being cloaked, and he was just observing me. And so at that point, I thought I was dreaming. And so I sat up and realized, I'm still physical. And I'm still in my room. There's this dude in the corner. And I look back and I can see my body. And I was just like, what's going on here? And I got excited, got kind of scared. And then I got sucked back into the body, woke up, and it was, daytime. And I was like, wow, that wasn't a dream, right? That was something much more profound. And not that dreams are profound, they're very important. But did some research, and it just so happened that day, a buddy of mine at the time sent me Darius J. Wright's channel. And at that time, the number 444 would follow me around everywhere. And I saw the importance of the number 444 in the Gematria code. And I saw this dualistic biblical nature to it. And I knew it was very important for it. But it would follow me everywhere. And then when my buddy sent me Darius's YouTube channel, he had 4,000.44 subscribers. And so that was a way of showing myself, all right, let's focus up. Let's focus up here.
Hi, and now for a very important announcement. We've noticed that half of you are not subscribed, but you are watching. And we know it's not deliberate. I do it all the time. So check if you're subscribed, and if not, press the subscribe button, then the notification bell. And that way, when we go live on Sundays, or we do a Catch Us If You Can, you won't miss it.
If you love to support our channel, you can go on our Ko-Fi where you can buy us a cup of coffee. You also can join our Discord, and you also can become a Sovereign Soul platform member. Thank you, and back to the show.
So you touched on something, and what I wanted to know was, you did mention your childhood a little bit, like when you were younger. So what was like your first moment of even realizing maybe there's more to this than meets the eye? And did it happen anytime in childhood, like lucid dreaming, seeing things, just any happenings whatsoever, even like telepathy or being able to tell, the stuff that will probably be brushed off as a kid, but you did naturally? Is there any instance like that for you?
I know that there was a lot of instances. I remember, it's interesting because there's things where I know this happened, but the memory is foggy, right? As most. But I remember as a kid so upset, whether it was about being here, not understanding. I don't remember. I was very little, but I was old enough to be in my own room. And I remember walking out into the backyard at night and just getting on my knees and looking up at the stars and everything around me and saying, I need help, or I need to understand, because I know that there's something way more to this life, to this existence, than what I'm being brought up in. And so as a kid, I had that kind of mindset. And I was very intuitive with, the littlest things. I remember it was in biology class, or it was one of these classes. There was a question on the board, and it was covered up. The answer was covered up. And we walk into class, and the teacher was like, it was supposed to be an outrageous question that nobody would know, right?
Yeah.
And I remember she asked if anybody knows. And I remember I said every number to the decimal exactly right. Mm-hmm. And because it just came to me. And I remember she thought I cheated. She's like, you looked. You had to. And so, but at that time I was shocked too, because I thought, oh, it's just a guess. And so little things like that, as a kid. But I will say that it got very suppressed.
Okay. Was that due to environment? Was that due to just, cultures, family dynamics, life?
Yeah.
Life.
I would say, like most, it's pretty much all of the above. Yeah. Because it was just a environment of survival in a way, in terms of this is how it is. You act like this, you talk like this, this is the culture. This is, our family. This is the religion part was interesting for me, because on my mom's side, I would go, so neither of my parents were religious at all, but my grandparents on both sides were. And so on my mom's side, when I was with my grandparents, and I was with both sides a lot as a kid. And I'd go to a Catholic church when I was with my mom's parents. And then other weekends I would go to a Mormon church when I was with my dad's parents. So early on, I got exposed to these different religions, different narratives. And it was even more confusing, because that was really the only spiritual compass I had externally. Right?
Yeah.
And I see the importance of it now. But it did suppress my ability to think independently away from what all my family was telling me is the truth, with the fear, with the programming. So I just was, as a kid, you just want to be a kid and have fun. So you're just like, whatever,
Did it ever, even if it dulled that flame inside of you that had you asking the questions when you were younger?
Yes.
Did it ever pose as a direct conflict to the inner knowing of what you felt was going on? Or was it just this is my opinion, and then this is the opinions, and you kind of kept them separate? How was that for you? Or did you ever were you the one in Sunday school putting your hand up and saying, or were you just like, look, as long as this hour is over and then I could get back to playtime? How did you deal with it? How did you navigate it as a kid?
I'm going to be honest. I didn't really care. I didn't want to ask the questions anymore. Just because of my environment, but it just became the taboo topics, all of that. You just don't talk about that, or it's very uncomfortable. So it created this mindset behavior within me that I just don't really care. And that's how it was for a while, until I was able to, go out on my own, join the army, have experiences away from, my home.
Yeah.
So you mentioned as well having few out-of-body experience growing up as a kid. Is it something that you've realized while you were a kid, or you now looking back, you're like, okay, that was an out-of-body experience?
Yes. And to take it even a step further, the out-of-body experiences I had as a kid are now coming full circle to the present time now. So what was set up for me as a kid in the confusion in the experiences was now used as guidance now, right? And there's so many, not just out-of-body experiences, but dreams, visions that now make sense. And so it was just a fulfillment of a script, a fulfillment of a path that's leading to now.
Like your own breadcrumbs, so to speak.
Exactly.
Okay, wonderful.
So you also mentioned that you joined the army. So how did you decide at that time to join the army? Is it because you wanted to escape this reality that you questioned, or what made you actually go for it?
It was just purely using. I started to, at that time, look more within and be more intuitive with myself and trust myself. And I knew school wasn't for me in a lot of ways. And I started to realize I need to put the stimulus, the noise of others aside and make the choices for myself, because I'm just going to be put into another path that really suppresses me. So, not saying the army doesn't, but when the idea of joining the military popped up, I knew that that this is what I need to do. And that feeling, that knowing is, you guys all know it, it's undeniable. And so I took that leap of faith with all the unknowns, all the uncertainty, the fears, and said, I'm going to do this. And so that led me down that path and was so important for eventually today and having these experiences. It taught me so much about myself and confidence and people, because you're put with all walks of life, people from all over. And I was a medic for a specific infantry platoon. So I had around 42 guys within this platoon. And when you're their medic, people confide a lot in you. And so from all ages. So at that time, and, guys would come to me and it's not just about like physical injuries and stuff. Most of it is very personal, emotional, spiritual. And so it was such an important time for me to take in all of these different perspectives and stories and see, well, what does that mean for me? And yeah, that was where I see the importance of being in the military. And I also met my wife, and it was just I wouldn't change a thing.
A lot of the time, we do try to tell people that there needs to be like a separation between our understanding of what spirituality has been up to now and moving forward what it is. And it's very much just the in-body experience. And that includes turning up to a job. That includes every single part of it. It's not that you get your yoga mat out and that's spirituality, but breakfast time isn't, or, you know, your commute to work isn't. It all is, because it's what we are. It's not what it is. It's not a thing to do. It's just is.
You are.
You are. And so when you say that you got all of these experiences from joining, including meeting your wife, including, you know, opening up to one of your abilities, which is your ability to be able to nurture people and communicate with them. And allow them to understand themselves. Can you see the correlation between what you do now and what you were preparing yourself for back then?
Absolutely. And I think that's such an important part, because I think one of the biggest, most important factors of this journey, if you want to call yourself a person that helps a person along their spiritual journey, you need to meet people where they're at. You need to have the ability to look outside of yourself based on your limited knowledge of their experience and meet them where they're at. Understand that they have completely different perspectives, experiences, and they bring a piece of the puzzle that no one else could touch. That their script, their presence is the very light that shines just as bright as anybody's. And so meeting them where they're at it's like just lending a hand out, but letting that person get up, right? Like, So, I can definitely see how that was important.
Yeah, you've made that clear, like, absolutely.
Like you said, meeting people where they are. I found out it's really, really important. And also, I think also the absence of judgment, because as you awaken, you often run the risk to be a little judgmental when people can't be, you know, up to speed or going as fast as you would like them to. To be and be like, but this is, you know, this is going to be great for you, and they can't catch up and can't understand. But I found out, you know, there's definitely a lot of people from like the military. These journeys allow them to really see things for what they are and have a different perspective, and as a result, they are where they are now spiritually and are able to actually, you know, open up. And they often start from escaping a reality that they are questioning to begin with. So when you're saying that basically it's a lot of things that information you had as a kid and you didn't know where they were coming from, it feels good to hear that, because I am sure there's many people now looking for similarity. That's usually what we do. And then they're like, okay, so they can follow a bit of your footstep and be like, okay, perhaps there's something there for me. So moving on to the OB process. So a video that you had talking about your grandmother, how she gave you a lot of information. And so was that one of your first experience, I mean, with full awareness? Or did you have other experiences before that where you were completely aware?
So that was definitely one of the first experiences where I had full knowing of what an out of body is, right? That was after I found Darius's channel and started looking at NDEs and all that stuff. That was one of the first few. And she did make contact with me telepathically, driving to work and stuff. But that was one of the first ones. And it's just it's so telling of how we're exactly where we need to be, because the information she was giving me and showing me was also related to topics she would talk to me about as a child, right? Angels and religion itself. And it was just it came full circle, for sure. So yes, it was one of the first ones.
It was it's a really beautiful video. There's something about the way you do your videos that are quite poetic. Your storytelling skills are really great. And when we watched the one with your grandma, for me, the energy I got from it was like she had the conversation with you that she would have probably wished to have had when you were little, but couldn't. It was that. And it's as if she had an understanding, now she was on the other side, that she wanted to make sure that you had now. It was very poignant.
I was going to ask about this whole experience. Did you set an intention, or was there a time where you say, okay, I'm going to have an OBE and I love to meet my grandmother? Or was it planned, or did you just allowed it?
Allowed it. There was no intention. And I would say, I'd preface with this, about a good 95% of all my experiences are actually, there's no intention in it at all. And not saying that's not important, that's very important. But those ones, they were giving me exactly what I needed to see at that time.
I believe if your overarching intention is to see what you need to see when you need to see it, then you usually do, and that unfolds naturally.
Yeah, you could say that was my intention then.
Yeah. It sounds like an intention in itself. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. When do you remember that moment was where you were like, okay, I need to start pursuing the truth, because what my idea of what the truth is right now doesn't seem to be lining up with the information I'm being presented? Was there a particular happening? For a lot of people I know, that was around the COVID time, but for some it was a little bit earlier, for some it was after. Was there like a particular moment for you that you can remember that you wish to share?
Yeah. Well, for me, so it's interesting. I mentioned the religion part and how I didn't really abide in it too much as a kid. I will say that while the time frame of when I was in the military and asking these questions, I did go into Christianity a lot, because I would see truth in these biblical texts. I would see things match up right. And so for a while there, I was fully a Christian, and I would try to use that as my compass. Well, the more I sought, and the more that I truth I wanted, I would see that wouldn't line up. That a lot of the storylines, the narratives, just wasn't true. And so that was a very polarizing time for me, because here is my entire life right now rooted in this faith, as well as my wife. And I can choose to ignore it and try to cling to comfortability, or do I really want the truth and allow that organic process to happen? Because I feel like most people get to that stage. How far can you go before it's too uncomfortable for you? Does someone just want a breath of air? And that's what it feels like. But as you keep pushing forward, you realize that it's even more than you could ever ask for. So that the question was, what was the question? I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. Was there like a point or, well, actually you answered it perfectly, because for a lot of people, it's like an onion. You're just peeling it back layer by layer, and it's just, you have to just keep on going, and you realize, oh, I'm already on this journey. By the time you can say, okay, I'm here, you're already on it.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's already,
you're Right.
Yeah.
It has been, I'm grateful for trusting myself, because how it's unfolded has been so supportive in ways that I didn't think was gonna happen. The fear of, this is gonna collapse, this is, that's gonna happen. When you do these things in love of yourself and others, and you're following truth, it really gave me a lot of support. And so it is different for my family. It is different for my wife. But it has unfolded in such a way where things are starting to become undeniable. The things that I share, the experiences, you learn this balance of how much to say, when to share it, because I feel, especially when I started to see some things and understand some things, you want to tell, at least for me, you want to tell everybody. You're the sole person that's going to wake everybody up in your family. And that's just not how it works from what I've seen, because they're in their individual process as well. And so they need a specific environment, person, circumstance to spark that flame. And so it is uncomfortable for my family and people around me, friends. You do lose the connections with a lot of people along this way, but it's just because they're not there at that time to support the journey. You could say that frequency, that path at this time, and that's okay. Because having the love and the courage to not have those connections anymore is more loving to them than trying to foster this relationship or connection that just can't be there, and it's going to cause pain for both of you.
Yeah, that's what we found.
Talking about small steps, because I'm guessing this is what you do at first. I was going to ask you about you OBE when you exited your body. If you didn't mind to explain what was your process, and if you had a preparation at the time, what did you actually do?
Yeah. The most successful way that I do it is to interrupt my sleep cycles. To interrupt, basically just set a timer, or if I realize that I wake up naturally throughout the night, set your intention. My intention is just to get out. And not even just meditating on that, making that known. For me, most of the time, I don't hit sleep paralysis. Like many don't actually enter that full sleep paralysis. You enter this state of the soul shifting, and you feel that vibration. And when I feel that, I know, okay, it's time. And so that's where I'm like, all right, we need to start engaging the process. And I usually roll, but I can feel this magnetic pull. And as I roll or try to sit up, it's strong, but then it gets weaker. And then you get to the sticking point. And that's for me where I have to put all of my force, into it. And then I pop out. And that's been the experience for me, is just I kind of wake up in that state, and there's no real method other than the sleep cycle. It's just, I feel, this might be controversial, but I feel a lot of experiences, OBEs and stuff, come at appointed times. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
I would agree.
Yeah. Not saying that you have no control over it, because you have control in your attention and your will. But I feel that in this awakening process, with how information, truth, and how all of that ripples out, certain things need to happen at specific times. Events.
The way
like they're event markers.
I would say also the way you've explained that it's quite important in terms of understanding the nature of this reality, as it's only about matching frequencies. So when you say that, although we could say marker events as everything's already done and we're aware of everything from the perspective of our soul. But I also think that when you are ready to receive an information, usually because you are matching that frequency. So in order for you to exit the body, and I think your process is, I set the intention to exit, but I'm not trying to be in control of what I should have experienced. It's only going to be based on what I'm meant to receive at that particular time. Open you up. Probably that release opens you up to be able to have these OBEs in the first place, because that open you are and ready to match any frequencies that's coming your way, so to speak. A lot of us at the beginning, we tend to over control the process in what we want to know about ourselves, although we may not be ready. As far as knowing our soul journey and past lives, etc. Did you ever experience any past lives, you personally, during this journey?
Past lives in terms of like the Earth experience.
Or any other.
Or any other. You don't have to get in details of what it was, of course. It
can be simple, yes or no.
It's just to kind of give more perspective, for the community, as far as, what was your journey and other people as well.
Yeah, okay, I understand now. Past lives. I would say I've been able to become aware of the separate aspects of myself within the construct, and to experience their scripts, what they're doing at different levels, and how it is all connected to us, and how these aspects of ourselves amongst all of the realms, the spaces, whatever you want to call them, we're all working in tandem. And in fact, we are this, me, you, everybody, we are the ones, this experience are the ones that are the full disclosure. We are integrating these aspects amongst the other realms into ourselves. And so that would be a major process of remembering past lives and aspects of yourself here, because this is a grassroots integration of all of those things. And so I've seen, the angelic realm, an angelic version, dragon, there's different aspects that I've seen, and it's like I mentioned before, we're pulling all of that into ourselves to be able to disclose all of this for the unlocking, right?
So
Yeah.
So if I understand right, what you're saying, and it's brilliant that we get to have this, your perspective. You seem to describe it as more than just being related to these instances or past lives, although nothing is from the past, really. Everything's in the now. But just for the sake of the listener to understand what we're talking about, you seem to, and I guess it's because you're quite, open about whatever information you're meant to receive. So it seems that more, rather than focusing on you personally, it's more the greater understanding what's taking place, what you've been presented with.
Absolutely. And seeing that it's a whole system. You're part of a whole. You're part of a whole system, but you essentially are the system itself. And that these fractalizations, these aspects, are just working on the remembrance completion, unlocking of that, from amnesia, ignorance, to full restoration. And so the experience here would be, first of all, we're talking about the embody, complete amnesia, disconnection, from everything to a full reintegration. And I think that's happening at this level.
Okay, this is really relevant what you're saying, and I think that because obviously from the Earth perspective, when we experience Earth, and the thing is, we feel separated. There's a separation, and a lot of us want to know what came before ourselves here and who we are, and this desire sometimes can override what we meant to receive, which is the greater understanding. And as far as why it is probably important to allow the natural process, or what it's supposed to be, to happen. And you seem to have done that brilliantly, and being able to acquire a lot of knowledge that you may have not been able to acquire had you asked to see a specific time in place and of your instances. So rather than asking for that, you've been really open to whatever's come your way, and I think that was always installed in you since the beginning, as you were explaining that you left for the army, and you were like, let me see what's going to happen. So what would be your advice for anyone that hasn't experienced an OBE yet?
I will say something and then get back to that question. I will say a lot of my understandings and remembrances and experiences were vastly confirmed by the support of others, and listening to others, listening to channels like yours, like Darius and many others, because I had a framework. I had a framework of an understanding that I can now compare my experiences to, and what I could throw out for me, and what I was open to. And so it greatly, just the power of sharing the information, I don't think we can comprehend right now, because like you were saying before, it's these activations. So hearing information from others, it was an activation of a time for me to start having these experiences and these remembrances. And with that, not only the activation, but the framework that others have provided and the doors that others have opened, I have now been able to walk through and confirm, and now have a more clear view of what's going on here for me personally. And so I would say to others that have not had an out-of-body experiences, it's important and it will happen. Full disclosure will happen, and it will happen for you. It's just, it's such a small, not such a small, but it's just one part of this process. And it's very important, obviously, to come out of your body and see, oh, wow, the physical body, the soul never ends. But I believe that these parts, these pieces of the puzzles that everybody holds, we will place our piece at the right time or whatever that is. And that could be the person right now trying really hard to have an OBE. It's been 3 months and maybe they've entered the sleep paralysis stage once and it lasted for 10 seconds. I don't think we can comprehend the importance of what that person is doing, what they're doing in their regular, I'm going to say regular life, and that's leading them to. Because how I see it is just it's a domino effect. It is events and cards being played for the complete restoration of everybody. So I would say to keep trying, to just have fun with it. It can be very frustrating because you're like, if this is true reality and I need to experience this, I need to know, and it will happen.
Would you say that, because you mentioned how important also the dream state is, although we know that it's the same, you have an OBE all the time, it's just not in full awareness. Would you say that it could start by maybe trying to pay attention to the dream, be more intentional as well about it?
Yes. The dreams are so important. They give you this information, this snippet of what you need to see at that time that I think goes over a lot of people's heads because, I can dream. We've been dreaming. I've been dreaming since I can remember. So you don't think that's significant. But now with your awareness and knowing that all of these things, these possibilities, these creations are there, now paying attention to those, you'll begin to then dial in to what you're supposed to see. And then begin to understand how information is given to you, because that's really important as well. They're very cryptic sometimes, or not. It just depends on what lens or filter you need them in. And so the dreams are just as important.
So now moving on to the construct. You mentioned a few things about it. I'm going to let Shem ask you a few questions about that because I know she's looking forward to your answer.
So my whole activation over this November has been a lot. And I know that the wider collective has been feeling it one way or another. You've got everybody from feeling like, it's been heavy, maybe old loops have been turning up, family members, friends, just all old situations seem to be resurfacing again for you to see whether or not you want them, all the way up until full-blown abilities coming online for people. How has this been for you? Now you're in awareness of these things. How has this activation period been for you?
So I will say, from understanding that we are in a construct, a creation, and experiencing that for myself, it always leads me back to the Gematria. All of my out-of-body experiences, dreams, and meditations, visions, always have me look back at the code. And at first, I had no idea why. I had some kind of inkling that, okay, there's scripts, there's a code to this reality. It seems to be this alphanumeric process, but why? And so with the understanding of a construct and having the precision and specifics of that, along with then finding Lisa Harrison's work, I was then able to put what I was seeing, everything started to mesh, because things started to become clear about the code itself and how the timelines, the scripts, the events, they're about healing. It's about becoming whole. And that after this experience, that basically we're going back in time, because all of this has actually already happened. I think if people can get into that mind frame and that perspective that this has all already happened, but we are going back to the future to have this very scripted but gentle and loving experience, so we can come out of this experience whole. So the minds aren't broken. So the minds are completely restored, because nobody gets left behind. And so this time frame has given me, specifically this month, very important experiences and downloads of what are the ramifications, what are the implications of that. And I can dig deeper into that if you would like, but that this time frame has been taking all of the experiences I've had, the notion of scripts and running on a simulated script to now, and where that plays in.
Yeah. You've touched on a few things. Firstly, the Gematria, which I will circle back to, because I feel like it came in your life at the right moment, so that when you were able to receive knowledge about Lisa M. Harrison's knowings and many other people's knowings, then it came together for you. A lot of that is something that I've experienced too as well. I would say when I heard what Lisa's teachings were, they immediately resonated with me on a soul level. It was less that I was hearing something for the first time and more that I was hearing something that I'd turned down for being turned back up again.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, sure. I know this, like knowing it is to be true. What I would ask you about the Gematria is, how did that come into your life? And has it shown you that it came into your life for this reason? Because it's lining up with your work today. When did it introduce itself into your timeline?
So before, I found it when I was back in 2020 or 2021, when I was looking at like financial markets and stuff, because I understood, that things were on cycles, things were cyclical. And and I saw that people were using this, you were using Gematria and being very accurate, not just with cycles and events happening, but dates, and even the input of a word gives you a baseline code that you can then measure across other codes and other words and definitions, and see the pattern in which they connect, and how that basically timelines are lines of code. Because an input of something creates this ripple that connects this word, this definition, this event, this time. And it's hard to explain unless you're looking at it. But I saw that the numbers and letters, and specifically with the English language, is they run a lot like, well, it's anagram in nature. So the word of silent and listen, they're actually the same code when you break them down alphanumerically. But to us, they have different meanings. So I would see, well, what does that mean then? Because the base code of it is this string of numbers, but to us, they have different meanings. So that showed me that the simulation itself is fractalized within, that matter itself and the code is fractalized upon itself. And that everything is an aspect of each other in some way. Our relationships, the events that happen, it's very specific and measured, everything. And now, well, people would be like, well, then that means there's no free will. Not necessarily, because this creation, this experience was made in free will. And this isn't freedom, but it was free will. And with free will gave you the opportunity to make choices, to step out of balance, alignment, agreement with what the essence of who you are is. We've heard this many times. And that has created this looping experiences that we have all been a part of. And not only just, you're not a victim. And this whole savior victim thing, this dualistic nature of it, is a parameter of how the system works, because it creates this mentality of good and evil, black and white, this and that. But you realize that it goes to that old thing of you are both, but really you are neither, because you're only experiencing that based off of ignorance, meaning you don't truly understand at a level of disconnection what is good and what is evil, meaning that they're these two forces that really, when together, are not you, but completely separate from you. And that's why it's so hard here with what people call the ego and our experiences and our understanding, because there is good and evil. This is where I'm trying to make this distinction.
Yeah.
This good and this evil, there's pain, there's suffering, there's manipulation, there's control. That these things are also used as catalysts of what you would consider good. Heartbreak leads to heart expansion. The negative experiences lead you to a more clear understanding. And so that tale of dark versus light comes to a completion when the forces really come together. And you realize that you really are neither, and that it's an experience of that.
I like to see it as a coin, heads or tails. You get good and evil. They're either side of the coin, and we go through life picking up coins. But if you held a penny in your pocket, it would be outrageous to think you are that penny. But you can still experience what that penny could give you once spent. It's that. But now we've gone too far and really just gone zoned in and identified with the head or the tail. Well, we're neither of. We're not even the penny. We're the holder of the penny itself. So I really do see what you're saying, because when it comes to matters of duality, people will be like, so what are you trying to say? Are you trying to say that this is condoned or that is condoned and we should forget about this? But when you spoke of it in terms of understanding the construct and where we are and what we're here to do this time, there definitely is a code. There definitely is a pattern. And I guess that's using stuff like numerology or gematria to kind of figure out where we are in the map of all of this. Where would you say now you are in understanding that, controversial to some, we may have played a part in this to the point where our understanding is where it is because we played a hand in the construction of it? How do you feel about that?
Well, that's the truth.
Okay.
It is pretty short-sighted, in my opinion, to think that if this is a creation of experience, to experience something that has never been experienced before, to gain that wisdom, that you would only want to gain if both sides of the coin are the same. Why would you only want to experience that one side of the coin when the value and of that coin is actually the whole thing? But because of free will and for it being the first time to experience that, from what I can understand, would be a very addicting, powerful experience because of, with disconnection, the nature of control. Because thinking you can control and have power is going to, but you're disconnected from the truth of who you are. You're going to have to self-preserve. And so I would say with us playing a part of that, there has been aspects of us, experiences of us doing that very thing. And that the imbalance, we talked about things being out of balance, that actually that imbalance has gone way too out of hand. That you would say we're up, or we're way out of the balance and alignment. And so that's why I talk about we're coming back into alignment with ourselves, that these experiences, these aspects are being healed. And this goes into what which Lisa coined, the mind virus. And the mind virus, her language, what she received from who she calls home, right? The individuals that are helping the process and the scripts for everybody, for us to completely unlock the construct. The mind virus is a function of the separation because think of it as a parasite, an infection of the mind. Because now, instead of being heart-focused, heart-sourced, you're all within the mind. And this is a mental construct. Not completely, but the looping of the mind creates the mental prism of light. And that's the whole thing with the eyes. And so the mind virus was introduced, and that created these looping effects and this constant need for control. And from what I understand, it affected all aspects, all realms of this construct. And that's where it created this big division. And this is where I've seen you talk about the wars with the angels and this big disagreement amongst different groups.
Would you say we came here to understand the construct, the reality we're in first? Because it seems that for a lot of people, the reason why it's difficult to grasp even the idea of the construct being flipped or basically the end of the construct, it's because in the first place, they find it difficult to understand the reality they're in, and they feel like they're entrapped. They feel they're in a prison, or at least a mind-led prison. And because you mentioned free will, for instance, and you said well, there's no free will. Although we know that a lot of the things we experience here, like free will, it's typical to this construct. Outside of the construct, because you're all knowing, you know everything. There's no surprises, let's say. How can it be free will? Free will doesn't even exist. The concept of love as we know it here on this earth as well, it's really earth-based. But once you're outside of the construct, it cannot even resemble, what love here. It's completely different. Yeah. And people, the lack of understanding, because you've explained a lot of concepts. You were also talking about how you were actually looking at the stock market at some point and use Gematria as let's say, a guide or tool in order to predict the future or some sort of future, which then again brings us to a linear timeline concept, which we know that's the whole illusion. And then you diverted this understanding to greater understand the whole construct, reality, etc. Would you say that people beginning to maybe try to understand what we're doing here, this in-body experience, is extremely important to then have a greater understanding for the rest? Because even if you provide you with that information, if you don't have any clue, it seems that what's going on here, what's taking place, it's going to go over your head. Would you say that's really important?
Yeah. And I would say if you could keep the perspective of nothing can stop this awakening, that we're going to use the word safe, that you are already home, that everything has already been done. It's just that this experience that we're having now allows us, each individual, to be on the specific scripts and paths that allows us to mentally become whole and aligned. And it's all very physical as well, because the physical bodies are the key to unlocking this experience. It is the access within the physical body that unlocks the process of this experience coming to a completion. So again, I would say that understanding that there's just staying true to yourself and pushing through the things you need to do and just trusting the process is all you can do, because it's completely restoring the mind, restoring and bringing you back to wholeness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I often talk about us using the tools of forgiveness and unconditional love for our personal progression here. And while they can seem like huge concepts to people because of the fact that we just don't generally live like that, like you're asking for you could on some level be asking for too much. But what I'm just inviting people to do is at least have that for themselves. How do you feel like for you that ties in now that you're in the knowing that, yes, you've been the bad guy and it's time for you here to integrate that? How do you feel that those two tools work for integration tools?
Yeah, I think those are some of the most important aspects of it, because to have that accountability, and it's not just accountability that it was wrong, but acknowledgement of what has been done. It has to be done because you have to integrate that, because that is pure experience and knowledge of this place that happened, and the pain and the suffering control is bad. I mean, it is terrible, but when you can have the perspective that it goes back to it being an experience, but that we really are coming together in love, that essentially right now, just acknowledging that and integrating that is really one of the most loving things you can do. And I think that that's so important, because of course we wouldn't like to think of ourselves in these ways, having a hand in it. But the different perspective change will give you that idea that, you know, it had an importance. That was a long-winded way of saying that it has an importance. That
Right.
It was unforeseen, and that with that the disconnection from source and yourself, you can't really judge yourself off of that, because it not being experienced, it being unforeseen, how could one judge you for making those making those choices and having those experiences? Because it has never been done. There was no wisdom to what could have been done. And so that's what's being restored. And I think if we can hold that and have that perspective, we will all come out whole, you know?
Yeah.
So you're talking about the body as well, that it all starts, you know, with the body. Would you say it is the reason why there's such an attack on the body in the first place? Because how important our body is and our understanding of the body is?
Yes. The physical body is the unlocking tool of this simulation, that on all levels, physical, so you'd say spiritual, that the reason we know it has been tampered with the heavy metals and the frequency of your thoughts and the mind virus and all of that, is to basically feed the unaligned system itself, because this is the system that we're in. People talk about 666. Now, that can mean many things from different perspectives you're looking at it. But most importantly, the 666 is just a measurement and input that is basically showing you that the creation itself is out of alignment, that you are not connected to and have communication with the full aspects of yourself. And this is the whole thing with the serpent bearer and Ophiuchus, and how we have been in this zodiac, you know, this 88 constellation loop, because that system, right, that was basically made the cores of all realms out of alignment, is holding this, is holding that loop and these cycles within the system. And so, but understanding that happens within you as well, that the heart holds the key to the mind, and that being heart source and heart focus, going into your heart, is then going to unlock the mind. And that happens physically as well. And that was shown to me in the pod experience of how at certain levels of the physical body here, we trigger mechanisms in these pods that then send this information and data to the physical body that turn on and help the process of waking up the physical, the dormant abilities. And so you would say, what are the implications of that? If we can get into that.
Just to establish a little bit about the thought, let's talk about the thought process. Let's have a thought process about it. Yeah, you mentioned how thoughts has a impact on the body, and obviously it has been tampered with. And my question to you is, do you think that our thought are ours in the first place to begin with, as we are connected to I say a common consciousness as a whole? It's a bit like a big network. Do our thought begin with us, or do we pick up thought that's around us in the ethereal space?
I would say both. And I would say that these thoughts can be projected to you, and things can't if you're unaware. And even if you are aware, we're still within a system where thoughts and habits, this is where the system was created to keep you in negative thought sequences and patterns. Because the familiarity of that stimulus is going to then want to keep you in that negative thought pattern. Therefore, the power of the soul and your thought, you're going to keep yourself at that lower frequency. But as the more awareness and the awakening of the physical body and just having the awareness, you can then start to see how thoughts, even from who you would call home, right? Your soul group, your soul family, they put thoughts in your mind as well to direct you to, now you have to make a choice. They can't do the work for you. That was made very clear to me, was that there's a certain amount of work and programming that has been programmed into you that you need to get through, but that there is a helping hand from home that is putting in certain inputs to help, but not overtake.
So in that case, would you say that awareness create thoughts rather than thought create awareness, and the ability to become more aware create therefore a better quality of thoughts?
That's well said. Yeah, you become a clear vessel or instrument to receive a different type of thought.
With your understanding of the construct and our missions here, I was speaking to you about an activation I had from one of your videos, and I have a message. I had a download from home about the construct and a mapping of the way out from what my understanding is. But because I feel like this is really like your calling, you're one of the pieces of the puzzle for this, I'd really love to share it with you. And I would appreciate if whatever your findings are about it, if we could share that together. So I don't know if we'll do it and then share it at the end of this message, or we'll do it in a separate video together. But I'd really appreciate if you could do that with me and we could share that with the collective.
Absolutely.
If you're up for that.
Yeah, I'm honored that to do that. That would be great.
Okay, cool. I'm really excited. Lastly, before we go, I would like to ask you what we ask everybody, which is, for you, in your opinion and your knowing up to now, who are we and why are we here right now?
We are everything. We are everything, an immeasurable, specific soul that has had the courage and love to partake in this experience and agree to this experience to help everybody, as well as ourselves, come back to that remembrance and acknowledgement again, to go from the deepest disconnection in the bottom of the abyss, you could say, back to the full remembrance and connection to just the truth of who you are. And we are all doing that and all are partaking in that very thing.
And if anyone wanted to find you, see what you're doing right now, how would they be able to do that? How could they best do that?
Yeah, so I have a YouTube channel. It's just Jace Belshe. And right now I'm working on putting out more videos of how to decode using Gematria, and trying to start from the basics so people can actually start doing it for themselves. I just wanted to get some core experiences out so you could see where I'm coming from. So yeah, Jace Belshe, my YouTube channel. I am also in the works of creating my own website that integrates my process with the database I use and the calculators. I'm trying to create one, because it can get very disorganized. I'm trying to create one interface that you could do that in, and it's going to be completely free. I'm in the works of making that right now. So I'm looking forward to dropping that as well, and maybe possibly getting with other people and teaching how to decode and things of that
wonderful.
nature. Yeah.
That is exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, so guys, Jace is also a part of the wider community. He is always around. You can reach out to him. He's doing wonderful things out here. And we're really thankful that you came and you shared your story, your experiences with everybody. I know someone will watch this and get an activation. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Jace.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. I really enjoyed this.
Wonderful. So until next time, guys, take care. We love you. Ciao.
Ciao.